Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm Cass, the Retro Gaming Nerd, and today we're going to be kind of following up my retrospective of the Mario video. I said at the end of that one I wanted to do Mario videos throughout the year. What I meant by that is I kind of want to try to do one every month. With that being said, I'm not going to do as many Mario videos as I did this month. Hopefully, it might end up that way in reality because of how my scheduling works. I might accidentally make more Mario videos than regular videos, but I will assure you that I'm going to try to continue with regular Nostalgia Goggles proper. With that being said, yes, we're obviously talking about a Mario video today, as if, like, you didn't read the description or the title of the video. Today we're going to be talking about one that is interesting. I was going to originally talk about my favorite Mario games, and this one isn't considered as one of my favorite ones. The last time I truthfully thought about this Mario game, which is Super Mario Land, was when Brento Floss made a song about it. Heck, that was the last time I ever really thought about it. So I don't exactly know why I'm doing this video except for the fact of me checking if it's really as bad as people said it was or if it's worth actually talking about. So let's get into it. So the story of Super Mario Land is dangerously simple as the game actually is. Mario has gone to a different region called Sarasaland to go save Princess Daisy from the alien Tatanga. This may sound odd, and it kind of is, but around this time there was no real consistent idea for Mario, because there was Mario 1 where Bowser was the villain, but then there was 2 where King Wart was the villain and the land wasn't even real, or argumentatively, and then there's this. And even then, if you want to be argumentative, even then Mario 3 wasn't consistent either. There was the Koopa Kids and other kingdoms as well. So when it gets down to the story, it makes sense that it's a little odd for Mario, and even then I don't think it's that odd. It's just interesting that we played with so many villains within this beginning time of Mario where they could have just been consistent. With that being said, I think that the story is what it is. It's nothing to really write home about, but I mean, it is different, so I'll give you that. With that being said, let's move on to the gameplay. So when it gets right down to it, Super Mario Land feels a bit off. And that might just be because it is the first of its kind. This is the first time that Mario has graced the Game Boy, so it makes sense that it feels a bit off. And it feels a bit off in multiple ways, from the enemies not working the same way. For instance, Koopa Troopas don't actually slide around like they do normally in Mario, instead they explode. And then there's enemies that work differently as well. The enemies are also completely different, down to the fact that Mario feels different. He feels stiffer than in traditional Mario, which I feel like it's hard to explain because you can't really see it, but there's multiple times in this game where I tried to make a jump and it just felt stiff. It's doable, but it feels stiff, and even the power-ups feel different, right? Because instead of there being a fire flower, there's the Super Ball, which argumentatively could work like the fire flower, but it doesn't. It bounces in it's hard to explain. You can look at it and you can see it and you go, oh, that's different. And I don't think any of this is bad. It's some stuff that you get used to as you play the game, but it's nothing really game breaking at the end of the day. It's just something that you can feel. You can feel that the main platforming side of the game is a bit off. With that being said, the biggest difference with this game from traditional Super Mario is that there are space shooter segments, from a submarine to a plane, which is few and far between. There's only really 2, but it's interesting that they're there, and it feels really well done that it's here. It's funny because Mario, to my knowledge, hasn't done this before, so it's nice to see this here. I think all in all, this is definitely classic Mario, and I think that having this game back in the day would have been really cool, and I think having this game today is really cool too, because it feels odd, but it's still super charming. It's still super fun to play. I enjoyed my whole time with it. The only real issue with the game in the gameplay department is that it is short, but it makes sense. You're playing this game in short bursts, and with that being said, it being short, it's also very forgiving as well as a game, because in between levels, if you go on the higher path, you are able to get more lives, and I think that that's super awesome. that it's allowed to do that. It allows the game to be beatable, and I think that it also allows for you to kind of gain a little bit more skill. But either way, at the end of the day, this game, I don't know if I can say that it's great, but I think that it's charming, and I actually like how different it is. And it's something that carries over into the next game as well, and I enjoyed that a lot. With that being said, let's move on to the presentation. Super Mario Land is accidentally adorable. I have no clue why it is this way, but the characters look way cuter than any other game out there, because the Goombas, Koopa Troopas, and other creatures just kind of come off as cute, and it's because of how simplistic they have to be. We find out later as time goes on with Super Mario Land 2 and yada yada, they could make them closer to what they are in traditional Mario. And with that being said, Mario enemies are already cute. Goombas are cute to a degree, and so are Koopa Troopas to a degree, but like, this is like super cute. And I think it's, like I said, because of the lack of detail. Outside of that, the enemies that are not the Goombas and Koopa Troopas are very interesting and eye-catching, and conveyed very well on this very limited game. And I think that that's really awesome that they are managed to be conveyed in the way they are. I know what these enemies are to a degree. There's like that weird spider thing. I don't know what that is. But with that being said, though, I like how this game presents itself outside of it being super limited in the presentation, no, in the visual aspect. Audibly, this game is... I love it. I love this game. It sounds like Mario, but it sounds like a different kind of adventure. You are in a different land, and it feels that way. But all the level music in this game is super catchy, and I absolutely love it. And you've probably heard it before, too. It got remixed in Brawl, the underground levels, and that's the first time that I've heard it in like a more modern space. I've played this game, but I really haven't thought much about it because I've only looked at the first few levels and went, oh yeah, whatever. And I think that that did me a disservice. I think that this game has a definitely distinct style, especially since the lands are vastly different. I love the kind of undergroundy pyramid kind of feeling of some levels, how there are the Easter Island heads even down to the heavily Asian inspired final levels. I like how all of these look, I like how all of these sound, and I think that it was a major treat to go back and play this game. Even the flying segments were super interesting because this game is vastly unique. This game pulls a unique experience from Mario. It feels separate from the home console games, and I think that that's definitely what sells the Mario Land games. And I feel like outside of the Mario Land games, we haven't had a Mario game feel this unique for a long time. I think the closest is Odyssey, and that's for completely different reasons. So I think that all in all, the presentation got me this time around. I love how cute it is, and I love just how all in all, the presentation itself is what really pulls this game together for me. I can see where the limitations might turn people off, but I kind of like what it did, and so I enjoy it. With that being said, none of this matters if you can't get your hands on the game. When it gets right down to it, Super Mario Land was only released on the Game Boy, and hot damn is this game more expensive than I remember it being, and it's almost unacceptable. Super Mario Land will set you back $18 at the lowest, all the way up to $40, and this is $40 with some change. I normally like to round these, okay? I don't like to give exact prices, but like, when I say 40, it's 40 and up. You can get this game around 30 as well, but at the end of the day, it's looking, and when I say 30, I mean more like 38 or 39, and I cannot recommend buying the original game. I think it's nice to have the original game. I obviously have the original game, but I bought that for like 10 to 20 bucks. I think it was 10 bucks when I initially bought it on the aftermarket. But yeah, I think this is a lot for it, especially since you can play this game on the NSO, which I feel like is a better option if you have NSO. Now, with that being said, though, you can definitely look around and find it for cheaper than these prices, but offhand, just looking for them, and this is the US version as well, there is the Japanese version of the game that goes for cheaper. That kind of is always the gist of how gaming works, but I feel like at the end of the day, if you're going to play this game, you should play it on NSO. I feel like that's the better investment, especially since you also have Mario Land 2 on NSO. So I feel like I can't really recommend the original release, and it kind of sucks to say that because I really enjoyed this game. And the thing that's funny about it is 30 bucks isn't too much either. That's not unreasonable, but I just think that when you have the option of NSO, because I feel like the Switch and or the Switch 2 is so readily available that I think Switch specifically, I think that I could just easily recommend NSO over that. So with that being said, let's move on to the goods and the bads. This game is just super charming. I think that that's really what makes this game great, is that it's super charming and it's very, very, very unique when it comes to Mario. And also putting it in the perspective of back in the day, this game would have just been awesome for road trips or summer camp or, you know, just hanging out, because this game is just so fun. It's Mario on the go, which doesn't matter now. Nintendo decided to make the Nintendo Switch so Mario on the go is regular. There was a time where that wasn't a thing, and this would have been super great to have this. Is it as good as, you know, Super Mario Deluxe or the, you know, Advanced series or even Super Mario Land 2? And the answer is no, it definitely is not up to that caliber. But I also still think that it's definitely worth it for checking out today, because it is pretty accessible to a degree, depending on how NSO goes in the future. I think that it's really cool to have this game still be playable in the same space as its sequel. But even then, it still holds up to a degree on its own for being a very unique and interesting take on Mario. And I think that with that being said, also the presentation, for me specifically, is what keeps this game holding up. You know, it's the linchpin for me of this one. I actually like how this game looks. It's off-putting to a degree because it is so simple, right? But once you get past it, or if you embrace it, I think that you'll like it, because the simplicity itself is what makes me love this game so much. But that doesn't mean that this game is perfect. That doesn't mean that there isn't any bad with this game. There are some things that I definitely have to complain about. With that being said, this game feels off, and it feels off enough that it can turn you off from playing this game, especially since there's almost no need to play this game. I enjoy it. I had a great time playing this game, but I can see where the way that it feels, the Super Ball and lack of fluidity and smoothness of Super Mario would be kind of an issue, especially since there are so many handheld Mario games today. Mario Land, New Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, the Switch's whole catalog to a degree. Almost every Mario game, to a technical standpoint, is now portable. There's a few obviously not, but with that being said, there's almost no reason to pick this one up if that is what's stopping you, and I don't blame you. There's multiple times in this game where I died or I misstepped, and thanks to NSO, it made it easier to deal with, because you could just rewind. But playing this raw, I can see where that would piss you off. It would piss me off. The game's not impossible, but with those minor slip-ups, I can see it being an issue. Where in classic Super Mario, it's obviously going to be an issue, but I feel like with that one, the gameplay feels at least smooth enough where you can go, oh, okay, I can try again on the raw hardware. Where this one, I can see it being off enough to just stopping people from wanting to play it. I don't feel that way. I don't, but I can see that being what it is. The presentation of this game, as much as I enjoy it, I also don't know how a younger audience would take it. It is very simple. It almost looks like a more complicated Game & Watch game to a degree. And that's me overly pushing the Game & Watch. In reality, like, it looks obviously better. Debatably, you can debate me on this one than a Game & Watch, but I could see where people would pass it up from that reason. The pixel art of the NES is timeless. The pixel art of the Game Boy in the future is timeless, right? Games that were near the color era, right? Like Super Mario Land and the Zelda Link's Awakening and stuff like that. That era is very timeless to what makes the Game Boy the Game Boy. But this one, I could definitely see where you look at it and go, no thanks, you know? There's so many better looking Mario games, like Donkey Kong 94. It doesn't sound like it's a Mario game, but it is. And Super Mario Land 2, and so on and so forth, definitely look better than this one. And I could see how that could definitely turn you off. The thing that I could see people saying is bad is with the game being so different and enemies working differently, I can see that being an issue. That was my issue back in the day. Koopa Troopas were always dangerous, right? They had a shell that slid and it can come back and hit you. It's a learning lesson, yes, but if you're playing Mario and then you move to this game, you're expecting it to work the same way, and it doesn't. They explode. Enemies don't work in certain ways that you expect them to, and once again, you'll definitely get used to it, but I don't know how tolerant people are. No, I do not agree with all the negatives that I gave, but these are how I feel that somebody could definitely perceive it, because I have to give it in that way. I could see where these people would, you know, not like it. And these people might not even exist. They might just, all these complaints I'm giving might just not matter to people, or it might not even be a valid thought. With that being said, I still want to put it out there that these issues may seem valid to somebody, and that's fair. So with that being said though, let's move on to the final thoughts. So, is Super Mario Land worth playing today? This is on the edge of a mileage may vary, but I think due to the fact that NSO exists, yes, I think this game is worth playing. But I kind of can also argue and see why it would be a mileage may vary. No matter what, I think that this game is fun, I think that it's cute, and I think that it's worth playing. But the biggest reason why there's an if is because this physical version has gone for more money than I think it's actually worth. Because at that point, instead of paying for this one, you could just pay for its sequel or many other games. And I just don't even down to the fact that you could just pay, right, for NSO itself for how much this is worth. So I don't know, I think it's worth playing today, but I don't think this version is worth playing today. With that being said, what do you guys think? What is your favorite handheld Mario? I will probably try to not hit a Mario video next. I can't guarantee. The month's almost over, so the next video may be a Mario one. I'm honestly hoping not, but I'll see you guys next month if you guys are following the Mario ones. And if not, I'll see you guys soon here on Nostalgia Goggles. Bye!